This is another book in my collection of puppet storybooks. This one is in a little bit larger format, and it's a different publisher than the majority of my collection. It doesn't have the lenticular on the front. I think that maybe this book was published after that era. Although it's the same puppeteers, the same Japanese puppeteers, this book it's a little different in structure. It's not as glossy. The pages aren't quite as thick. I hesitate to say that it's a poorer quality publication, but honestly it is. But I still love it. This book is published under the collection called The World of Fairy Tales. And it's a German publisher, I think. Frobel Kahn. It's either German, perhaps Japanese. I wish I knew more about it. But this book is absolutely full of beautiful, beautiful vignettes. And post puppets, of course. In that respect, I think this book, in some ways, is better than some of the smaller books because you have a much larger canvas, I suppose you'd call it. You can have a lot more room for the vignette. And this one is spectacular. There's just all of this gold embellishment on things like the little boudoir chair and the grandfather clock. And of course here's Cinderella helping her stepmother and stepsisters. Everybody's pretty familiar with the story of Cinderella, so I won't read it word for word, but I did want to give an opportunity to see all the beautiful pictures. And here's the appearance of the fairy godmother in this beautiful coach. I always loved that. I always tried to picture what it would be like inside the coach, inside this little door. And the horses are lovely with their bridles. And their manes are, if you look closely, if you can see the detail, it's yarn, but still beautiful. And all the little appliques on her dress, it stuns me how detailed these were. And I think about how many hours must have been devoted to not only creating the puppets, but posing them, just for the sake of having pictures for a child's storybook. Just very unusual. And I'm not certain that we would see that these days. We would probably see illustrations, computer-generated illustrations. That's one of the things that makes these special to me. And here's Cinderella at the ball, of course. Fairy godmother had helped her get a dress and a footman and her carriage, and here she is meeting the prince. It's a beautiful chandelier. But, of course, she gets carried away and forgets that at the stroke of midnight all returns to as it was, and here she is dashing away from the prince because she hears the clock strike midnight. But she left behind her shoe, of course, and here she is back in her drudgery and her rags. And of course the prince comes because every woman in the kingdom is required to try on the glass slipper to see who it is that will fit the slipper and be his bride. And imagine their surprise when, of course, it fit Cinderella. And this is the most beautiful page of all, the wedding page with all of the stained glass background. And how sweet that the once terrible stepsisters are now in reverence to the new queen in her beautiful gown and her beautiful flowers. So this book, oh, and this is cute too. Of course, I purchased this book from a collector, but somewhere along the way, some very little girl named Anne felt compelled to write her name on this book. And I hope that that shows how much she loved the book. I think it does. So yeah, that's my Cinderella book. And I'm hoping you enjoy these videos. And I will record another one soon. Thanks for watching.